Frugal living has helped me save thousands of dollars without feeling like I've been missing out. And it's because it's not about being cheap or boring or about depriving yourself. It's about being intentional with your spending, and it's freeing and it can help you reach your goals. So today I am sharing ways that frugal living has helped me save money and how it can work for you too. So I'm going to break this into 5 categories. And the first one is going to be food and coffee. I used to go out to eat for lunch and dinner a lot. We were spending a lot of money, about $12 to $20 a day on lunches and about $20 to $50 each time we went out to dinner. And this was really adding up. So when we looked at it at the end of the month, we realized that this was something that we needed to cut. And we didn't cut it completely. We did allow ourselves, one day a week, we can choose lunch or dinner. That way we're not feeling deprived. But we were also saving a lot of money. So this led us to having to eat at home more often. And looking at ways to save money with grocery shopping, we came up with meal planning and lists. So I would make a plan for the week of what we're going to have for dinner. And on our list, I would add all the ingredients we would need that we didn't already have. And then, of course, add stuff for lunch and breakfast and snacks. And this saved me a lot of time and money when I went to the grocery store, because when I go grocery shopping, if I go in without a list, I am going to forget half the stuff that I had on my list, and I will end up with things that I didn't need. So this was a big one for me to keep track of what we needed and stay within that list. We also used soups and batch cooking, and we would make soups about once every few weeks, and that would last us a couple of nights, and we would freeze some of it because we'd get sick of it after a while. So the freezing the soup was really nice because we could go back and get that as a cheap and quick meal. And then the batch cooking was a great way for us to make it was similar to the soup, pretty much. We were able to make a dinner one night. It was a meal for a couple more times, whether it be lunch or dinners. And then coffee was a hard category for me. I loved going out for my coffee. I love coffee. I drink it every day. So I was spending alone myself $5 a day on coffee. And that was just the coffee itself. It wasn't including, I might get a muffin or a cinnamon roll or something to go with it. So $5 a day on coffee, and I cut that out. And I easily saved $1,000 a year by cutting out my coffee going out. I do now enjoy making my coffee at home, and I find that it's a much slower morning. I get to enjoy it more often. I don't have to go out and get my coffee. I can just enjoy it at home. And this was something I thought was going to feel like I was depriving myself, and I ended up finding out that I enjoyed it way more than what I was expecting. So the second topic is shopping. And this is non-essential items like clothing or furniture. And the first thing that I started doing was I decided to do a low impulse purchase. And the reason why I say low is because I did start with no impulse and found that that wasn't working for me. And so I decided low impulse is probably a better category. And that just means that there are things that I will allow myself to impulse purchase, but I have to go through a mental list before I do this. And I just need to hold that item in my hand and ask myself, is this something that I am going to really use? Is it something that will bring value to me and that is worth this money? If I don't buy it, what am I going to be giving up? Or if I do buy it, what am I going to be giving up? So there are occasions where I do impulse purchase, and it goes one of two ways. Either I am completely happy with that impulse purchase and I use it all the time and I'm really happy. Or the other one is I feel guilt and I return it to the store. So impulse purchasing is probably one of the easiest ways to cut back on money when you're out shopping. And then ask yourself a lot of questions, and making sure it is something that you want to get. Then the other thing that I do while I'm out shopping is if I do see something and I've decided not to get it right away, I will put it on a list. And that's either I will type it out on my phone or I'll take a photo of it. And that way I can think about it. I give myself a couple weeks or a month to think about, do I really want this item? And as soon as I decide that I don't, which is a lot of the times, I will delete it. So then I'm not thinking about it anymore. And then other items, I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to now challenge myself. If I want this item, I need to wait a month, or I need to wait 2 months, or I need to wait until I get rid of something. So my lists come in handy with trying to definitely cut back on what I'm bringing into my home and how much money I'm spending. I also do believe in buying nice the first time, because I did get caught up with this when I was shopping a lot, that I didn't buy nice. I would buy a lot of cheap stuff because it was on sale, and I thought I was being frugal that way, and it ended up actually costing me more money because the cheap stuff was either it didn't go with what I wanted, or it didn't fit right, or it didn't feel right, or it just wasn't very good quality and it didn't last long, or I just got tired of it pretty quickly because I didn't spend much money on it. So I also like to use, as an example, apples with my buy nice. I love Honeycrisp apples, my favorite apple. They're also the most expensive apple at the store. And I would occasionally buy cheaper apples thinking, okay, we don't need to spend this much money on the Honeycrisp because that's a lot of money, and we could eat cheaper apples. They're fine, right? An apple's an apple. No, an apple's not an apple. We were finding that we weren't eating the cheap apples. They ended up going to waste because we didn't like them as much as the Honeycrisp. So now I'll buy the Honeycrisp. If they're a little on the pricey end, I will just buy a few of them instead of a whole bag of them. And that way I feel like I'm still saving money, but I'm enjoying my favorite item. So that goes for anything really, whether it be cars, electronics, food, clothing. If you buy nice, it actually saves you a lot of money instead of buying the cheaper version. So that kind of leads into kind of upgrading, which is my third category. We tend to buy things sometimes because they are cheap, and then we end up having to purchase it again because we now have the money to buy the nicer thing, where we probably should have waited and saved the money and buy the nice thing the first time so that we don't have to keep upgrading. But I'm also talking about a lifestyle upgrade, and that's when you get a raise or you get a bonus or your income tax. We can all think of things to spend our money on. But if you're trying to reach a financial goal, you're trying to save money, pay off debt, whatever your reason is, taking those increases in income is going to be very beneficial if you put it in savings instead of spending it, instead of upgrading your life into something else. So for example, you get a great raise. Well, you have a house. Well, a lot of people, and myself included, have thought about buying a nicer house or a nicer car or something nicer because now you make more money. But it will just send you back if you're trying to reach a financial goal, if you're trying to pay off debt. And so upgrading is just going to slow you down instead of speed you up. So save that money and save it for your future, save it for debt, whatever it may be, and the upgrades can wait. So my fourth category is about transportation. And a little controversial for some people, or for some people it might not work to do this, but I started looking into alternative transportation. And that is, my husband and I have one car. We've always had one car, except for when our kids were in high school. They were both in school at two separate high schools, had to be in two places at the same time. So for a while we had two cars. And this has saved us a lot of money. We estimated that by us driving a our first car is a used car, and our second mode of transportation is a bicycle. I have been a bike commuter for many years. My husband bike commuted for a couple of years too. And not owning that second car, we estimate that it's saving us $10,000 a year by not having to make car payments and insurance and gas and maintenance and parking and all the stuff that is involved with owning a car. We have been able to ditch that every year, except for those few years. And for some people, this isn't going to work out. We just happen to be lucky that we work close to home, so it doesn't take long to get there. And if you're looking for a great way to save money, look at your transportation and see if there are different ways you can look at it. So then my fifth category is about gratitude, or about being happy with what you have. And this is something that I struggled with at first. I wanted to upgrade. I mentioned upgrades with bedroom sets and having nice things. And when you get to a certain point, you do already have some nice things. And to think about these items and say, you know what, this is a good table, or this is a good dresser. I don't need a new one. What is the new one going to bring to me differently than this current one is? This is good enough, and I am happy with this. And this is what I mean by enough, or having gratitude for what you do have. It's another way to look at buying things. Instead of spending your time thinking about all the things that you do want, you can look at it as, I do have enough, and be happy with what you have. It doesn't work for everything, of course. I mean, sometimes you do need a new couch because the old one broke, or you do need a new refrigerator, or you do need a new pair of shoes. But to have gratitude for the things that you don't need and it's more of a want, it can change your perspective on what you're spending your money on. So in the 3 years that we started working on frugal living and paying off debt and everything, we were able to pay off all of our student loans, our credit cards, our car payments, and our house by using these small changes that we still practice today. So frugal living did not bring us feelings of being deprived. It brought us feelings of freedom, because now we don't have all this stuff hiding under us that we're worried about all the time. We can now move on past debt and into looking at financial independence. So frugal living is not about living with less, but it's about living with intention, because every dollar saved is a step closer to your freedom. So if you're looking for more ways to save money, more inspiration, and tips on building financial independence, just hit subscribe, like, and look for you in the next video. Thanks.